Allow me to introduce our panelists this morning. We have with us Professor Nyong'o, who is the governor of Kisumu. Also, we have Farah Maalim, who is a former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Also, we do have with us Dr. Shemo Chodo, who is a global leader of Kenya Diaspora Alliance. We're eagerly waiting for Gladys Bos-Chole, who is a women rep of the county of Uasin Gishu. Also, for Joyce Laboso, who is a governor of Bomet. A very good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
Right, let's just begin with Professor Nyong'o. Good to see you and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Right, we want just to go and address those issues that is emanating from Kisumu County, first of all. Baby Pendo, of course, I know you attended the Requiem Mass, and of course, so we had other politicians yesterday also bidding her farewell yesterday. We given to understand that, first of all, you claim that there's some bodies that have been discovered in the Lake Victoria that were actually in body bags. We wanted just to hear from you because you've clashed over, or also police have clashed over the claims that the security officers killed people who protested against the election of President Uhuru Kenyatta and dumped their bodies in Lake Victoria.
Yes, Anaya, thanks very much. First, let me extend my very deep condolences to the family of baby Samantha Pendo, Joseph and Alessa, and all the parents on both sides, and the community in Uganda who lost this wonderful angel. Let me also extend my deep-felt sympathies and condolences to the people of Kisumu who have lost dear ones, and some have been injured, some still in hospital, some women still staying at home with bullets stuck in their bodies, and treatment and pain management systems. I think it's really a shame that the security forces are in denial and in a cover-up. There's a big cover-up going on in Kisumu. We started immediately after the votes were cast. You do remember that it was premeditated repression before the elections. There were army and security personnel going to Kisumu in trucks, water tanks. We had 100 police horses in Kisumu. The horses were kept at the KBC Mast Center where there was a lot of grass. And so I called the police commissioner, the county police commander, and tell him, look, please minimize the presence of the police on the streets. Let them only be those who can keep law and order. But this high presence of military and security personnel is actually unnecessary, because I know the people of Kisumu, if they demonstrate, they'll be exercising their civil rights to demonstrate as the Constitution allows. It's amazing that the day that the results were announced, I live in Runda, there were celebrations on Kiambu Road almost the whole night, but no police presence. In Kisumu, where people were protesting the results, they were stopped from going downtown and hunted into the slums and clobbered and killed in their residences. Remember when I went to Kisumu, I appealed to the people of Kisumu to keep calm, keep away from the harm by the security force, and they did, and yet they were still followed into their homes and clobbered. So at the moment, we know that at least 17 people who died, their bodies are being traced. We've discovered one, which is at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga morgue with 2 bullet wounds here, showing quite clearly that he was shot from behind as the bullets came out. So we have asked the morgue attendants to take care of that. We are doing further investigations, and I don't want to say more about that because there's a strong force to keep the public away from knowing the truth. I'd like to appeal to the Kenyan government and the international community that there is genocide in Kisumu. Genocide in Kisumu.
But when you use the term genocide, that is really a strong verbiage to
Yes,
use.
it's a strong term, because when you kill people and you hide bodies and put them in mass graves and then you exhume and take them to the lake, that is genocide. Or repression of genocidal tendencies. And the only thing that can help is for an open inquiry with forensic medical people examining bodies and exhuming graves and finding out the cause of death, because is terrible.
All right, so you say also that some other bodies also have been buried at Mamboleo Cemetery.
Well, let me tell you this, and we are tracing lexicon. On the day after the day that baby Pendo was killed at night, and I went to Aga Khan Hospital on Sunday night and saw the baby lying there fighting for her life. I really moved. The next day, I think about 5, she passed on. That day, I came back to Nairobi. I had instructed my people to go and find out more, because I'd been to Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Hospital, and I've seen the victims of terror with bullet wounds and so on being treated. And we heard that some people had died, but from the villages, and people didn't know where they were taken, because the police went there, or the security forces. Nobody knows whether they were police, GSU, APs, whoever is dressed in security uniform. We didn't, because their behavior was like a militia, the kind of thing you hear in Vietnam or the Middle East. Going to villages, terrorizing old men, picking up phones of young people, crashing the phones because they don't want to be photographed, going into houses, eating food, ransacking the house, taking away property, getting kiosks, destroying kiosks, running away with bread. I mean, it was just terror, okay? So people were talking in very low tones and very timid, and they told us that, look, some people have disappeared, we don't know where they are. So of course we went to Jaramogi. At that point in time, the morgue attendant told us that no, the cases who were there were not, only 2 cases of people who have been fought or killed because they were arsonists or something. But then we sent our people to Mamboleo Cemetery, and they found that the previous day some people had been there and had asked that a mass grave be dug. The next day they say that mass grave be enlarged, okay? We kept on visiting, but then I think along the way we lost track. Now, when we discovered this body the other day, I asked my people to go back to Mamboleo in the evening at about 6:30, when one of my scouts, and we had opened a rescue and emergency center, Jomo Kenyatta Sports Ground, where we had received 171 complaints for people injured, people were beaten and in the house, they prayed to come back, sexual assaults and everything. We have recorded that. 171 cases, 6 people dead, and we have the names, okay? So when we sent there in the evening, today is what? Today is Monday.
Today
20th Monday.
Monday. On Saturday night, my man went there and found an AP at 7 in the evening, armed to the teeth at the cemetery. He asked the AP, what are you doing here? The man just mumbled certain things. And of course, my guy left. So we have mounted a major operation to follow up this matter. We have discovered, 1, that 17 bodies were at the morgue at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, mortuary. Subsequently, they were removed and put in a mass grave at Mamboleo. Subsequently, they were removed from the mass grave and taken to the lake. See what I mean?
Right, but the police also, they've recorded and their statement, and they've said that this was the cause of death was drowning.
Yes, that is their claim.
That is their claim.
Their claim. That's why I'm saying we must have an independent inquiry into the genocide in Kisumu. And the best way to do it, remove the people who are head of security in Kisumu, all of them. Put in new people who are neutral, so that the junior people can talk. Because their oppression, first of all, they even intimidated the media. I have evidence that the security forces have been intimidating the media not to tell the truth. Okay? So this thing must be taken seriously, not just nationally, but internationally. And so long as I'm governor of Kisumu, I'm not going to keep quiet.
All right. Let's see if the reaction from our Honorable Farah. It's good to see you after.
It's like Walaga massacre, by the way.
Yes.
It's a proportion to Walaga massacre.
Wagala
massacre. It's a proportion. And the trouble is, it's happening at a time when our focus is a Supreme Court case. So all media is focused on Supreme Court case, where something is going on in Kisumu which is extremely sinister.
All right, Farah.
Yeah, you know, Dibal, I have grown up in an environment where extrajudicial killings have been the order of the day. And, you know, even as we talk right now, I'm missing my own relatives, about 5 of them, my own close relatives. But that was before the elections. And never been brought to court. I've never seen them where they are. And many of them also.
And what circumstances are they missing?
Well, we don't know. You see, in the case of right now, they're using it as an election thing. In those ones, probably they're using it as a way of fighting terror. But you don't fight terror or terrorists by getting innocent people and incarcerating them, or sometimes their bodies. You know what actually happens? They will go and pick these people on the flimsies of excuse in Northeastern Province, and then at some stage you will see some officers who will say, "Look, these people can be found somewhere, but you have to pay so much." In the process of trying to establish whether they have any contacts or any relationship with terrorism, they torture them, and torture them so bad. Then they realize that once you release them, now that there's absolutely no evidence, and you release them out into the public, there's going to be a suit there. There's going to be a public outcry. And the pictures of the people is such that you can never look at it. Then they just eliminate them, forget about them. And there's no trace. There's absolutely no trace. So when I hear what's happening right now in Kisumu and other places, is something that is a feeling that can only be felt by people who have suffered that. And it's a pity we have 2 Kenyas, we have 3 Kenyas, you know what I mean? Yeah. We have different parts of the country that are subject to different rules, and that where impunity is more or less the order of the day. So it's a pity. I can understand. I believe and trust everything he says because we have suffered that ourselves. We're suffering it as we're talking right now. And many people, innocent people, have disappeared. Many of them, their bodies also found in places. Others, why would you arrest an 80-year-old lady, torture her so bad, and slaughter her? The lady who was found in Mandera the other day. She doesn't speak English, she doesn't speak Swahili, she doesn't have a phone. She has her goats there. She is the stepmother of the former member of parliament for Mandera East. And the bodies, 5 bodies were found somewhere. And these are people who are taken away by the security apparatus. So we're going back. We've gone back, seriously back. I can assure you of that. And I think it's a pity. I mean, we really... You see, electoral disputes can be there, you know, as Peter puts it, and it could go either way. You know what I mean? Whichever way it goes, it's a process. There's a piece of legislation that we deliberately, as the founders of the current constitution in 2010, we've put in place. You see what I mean? And people are already in court. But when people go out there and demonstrate, and you know, they end up in Lake Victoria, or you end up a small girl of 6 months, why would you club a 6-month-old kid? I mean, well, how heartless can our machinery get? And imagine, if that's going to be the psyche up there. Today is in Kisumu. Tomorrow you never know where it's going to be. So what goes around comes around. All right. So it's a bit sad, and I think our own souls and conscience should be pricked in this thing, so that at least we don't forget our own humanity. The humanity that essentially we are part of the human race, and some of these things must be investigated, and the families must be, the issues must be put to rest. All right, Dr. Shemachuodo, because we know Kisumu also was highlighted as a hotspot area. So having the trucks and also having a gaggle of soldiers really going down to Kisumu, could we say that maybe they were taking measures beforehand, before even the elections began? That's why we're seeing trucks there. We're seeing, of course, also the soldiers being deployed much earlier.
Oh, the BAL not being part of government, I wouldn't know if that was the intention. But allow me to join my colleagues to record my condolences to the family of Samantha, as well as families of those other people who have lost their lives during this period. Especially in election-related matters. There was a young girl, 9-year-old in Mathare, and others who we probably still do not know. In the same vein, allow me also to record condolences to the family of Christabel Ouko, who passed in a grisly road accident. The last time I met Christabel, I had to hide in a home. This was in, I think, around the year 2000, when ODM goons chased me through a sugarcane plantation. and Christabel did protect me.
ODM didn't exist then.
Well, it was the precursors of ODM.
So, get the facts correct.
So call it precursors of ODM.
You can't say that.
Goons.
ODM just didn't exist. There was a precursor.
Okay.
Who did it?
Okay, Professor Nyong'o. That time, Professor Nyong'o was me on the other side being chased.
No, I just want the facts.
If you can protect me from the good professor, I'll appreciate.
Just being ODM way.
Okay, Professor, just let him finish, then you'll correct him.
The precursor, goons of the precursor party of ODM did chase me. We'd gone to bury the mother of a good friend, former mayor of Moroni municipality or township at the time, Billy Adero, and Christabel was quite helpful. So I feel the pain. It's unfortunate that she's passing on without knowing who killed her husband, Robert Tuuko, many years later on. So I record my condolences. Allow me also to record condolences to the family of Jerry Susan Kariuki of Dallas, an eminent diasporian media personality who has passed on in Dallas. There are many other Kenyans. I don't know whether these are signs of end times. Almost every day somebody is passing on. So I record my condolences to those affected families. Having said that, allow me to congratulate Professor, Governor, Senator, Honorable Professor Nyong'o, because the first time we are together on this platform since his election. And look forward to working together with him. We had a session with Professor Kibwana. As Kenya Diaspora Alliance, we are keen to work with governors who are likely to bring about order and good governance in their counties. So despite our disagreements in some areas, I am hoping that we'll still find common ground to move this country forward in the spirit of magnanimity. Having said that, what took place in Kisumu and parts of the country where people from my community, especially, were involved, and I do know people have corrected it. They have said this is not a NASA issue. It's not even an ODM issue. It clearly looked like targeting a particular ethnic community, which is very unfortunate. I would be happy to consider it a massacre based on the numbers that we would find. But having worked in Rwanda, I would be slow to call it genocide, because genocide ideology, as President Kagame calls it, is a case in which you want to vanquish a particular community from the face of earth. I am not sure we had reached that stage yet, but certainly what happened cannot be condoned under any circumstance. I agree with my colleagues who are calling for independent investigations. I think we did this when Chris Msando disappeared. But again, I recorded my concerns that the politicians who are making noise about this, they don't go far enough. Why don't we push it to the end? If it's Scotland Yard we want to come, if it's FBI we want to come in, why don't we put our feet down, make as much noise as we make on other issues, so that government acts on this matter to have independent, credible investigations so that we get to the root bottom. Finally, I have issue with people who believe in retaining or acquiring power through killing, through taking others' lives. We know it's said in the Bible, those who live by the sword will die by the sword. They sure will die by the sword one day. So my caution and appeal to those who may have been culpable in these matters, just remember that your day of reckoning is coming. It may not happen here, but one day after it's going to happen. So I don't support it. I appreciate some efforts that IPOA, the Independent Police Oversight Authority, has made to try and unearth this matter. But we must go much deeper. But more importantly, I'm hoping that no more lives are going to be shed, because we still have the court process going on. We don't know what's likely to happen, whichever way the court's going to rule. I want to appeal to fellow Kenyans to observe peace so that we accept the outcome of the court verdict.
But I want to make one important correction. One, for the Kenyan government to have identified certain places as hotspots was itself ethnic profiling and political profiling. That's one. Secondly, even if there were hotspots, the kind of military and security arsenal and personnel that were taken to these places was like trying to kill a fly with a sledgehammer. It was not necessary. Thirdly, it shows if ineffectiveness of intelligence on the part of the government or the disrespect by the state of its own intelligence services of what was on the ground. Because if indeed the elections went well, there would have been no demonstrations. But because there was already a premeditation that the elections were not going to be there in the first place, or if they were there, the results were not going to be respected. Therefore, the outrage of the people was premeditated by the state, and their repression planned aforethought. Now, let me just finish. So that ethnic profiling and premeditation of fraud in the election, and therefore premeditating people's reaction, led to that excessive police presence and security presence in Kisumu that was not warranted. Fourthly, when they realized that we had advised the people to remain in their villages, these goons and militia went there to beat the people, and they said, we were given these bullets to use. We are not going to go away without using these bullets. Secondly, again, utterance of the people, of those militia, telling the people, we have come here to eliminate political vermin. If that is not genocide or genocidal knowledge, I don't know what genocidal knowledge is. This is testimony by the people. Men whose private parts were crushed. You understand? Innocent people, and they tell you, we have come here to eliminate political vermin. So that's why I want a proper inquiry to be done so that the genocidal language that was used can tell you the intention of the state against its own people.
But we cannot say that this was premeditated because we do not know the metrics that the government used to actually identify this as hotspots.
That is part of the inquiry I want. Precisely because the outcome has been so tragic to the people of Kenya, that inquiry must be undertaken. And finally, the people who were targeted in the slums are not just necessarily Luos. We have found Somalis, we have found lawyers, we have found Giriama, we have found people living in the slums irrespective of their ethnic identity. These people went there to clear the political vermin.
Then your statement then will be premature if you say that should be investigated, and of course you are going or jumping the gun and saying this was premeditated.
That is my impression from what I get on the ground, and that must be examined. Look, we have IPOA. IPOA was the Independent Police Organization, Police Oversight Authority. We opened an emergency rescue center at the sports ground, and I'm glad they came. The Police Service Commission has not said anything. The security forces in Kisumu are in denial. They are even saying that baby Pendo fell on the floor and crashed her head on the floor, irrespective of what the postmortem is saying. This is how far they are going to cover up the thing, Debal. So the nation must know there's a big cover-up in Kisumu of violence of genocidal proportions.
Debal,
yes.
I think it's unfortunate. With due respect to Professor, he seems to contradict himself. On the one hand, it's saying it's ethnic, targeted and profiling. On the other, he's saying different communities.
Listen, my friend.
Yeah,
ethnic profiling
the condescending attitude has to stop.
No,
it's my opportunity, Professor.
The people who were killed there when they went were different communities because the slums contain different communities.
Please,
okay, just a moment.
Please protect me from that.
All right.
Distort my presentation.
Can you protect me from
that? All right, Professor.
I'm not protecting, but you seem to always trying to distort issues.
No,
I say, Professor.
Let me get me clear. Yes. I say that first of all, sending the military there was ethnic profiling and political profiling. But when they went to clobber the people were clobbered in the community or in the slums were people from different communities because Kisumu is a multicultural town, not just a Luo town.
Professor, just hold
That's the fact.
Just hold
I'm not distorting anything.
Yeah, please.
No, this is a very serious issue.
Yeah, listen to other sources.
All right, thank you. Okay, just a moment. I need to bat in the Professor.
All
right, I think then
he can't talk like that.
Just give me time to just clarify what
it's a serious issue.
Yes, Professor.
I don't like that kind of liberal nonsense.
Thank you. All right. Just hang on. Let's hear from you, and then we'll clarify and we wind up on this because also is under investigation.
My premise is that if on the one hand we are saying it's ethnic, and on the other we are saying other communities were
affected. It's not one hand or the other hand. The people who live there are a mixed
away.
All right. I think
take away the fact.
No.
Look, the BAL, you know, there were demonstrations in the country. Last week I did ask, Mheshimiwa Manzo was here. We'd expected there would have been demos in Mombasa, there would have been demos in Machakos, in other places, Kakamega. Clearly that didn't happen. It's areas where our community are major. Even when we talk of Nairobi, whether it's Kibera or Mathare, we know those are high density spaces for our communities. So the point is, if they were being targeted because they come from that particular community, it's certainly not right. But what I still don't agree with, and with due respect, we're allowed to have our opinions, as genocide, I would be slow to use that. But
right.
there was massacre, which is not allowed.
All right, okay, let's leave it at that.
Don't tell me what to say.
All right, just okay, let's leave it at that. And broach, I think this is also under investigation, Professor. We leave it to the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. But do you also believe that Independent Police Oversight Authority will actually give you that particular investigation and the report in time? Because we understand what happened in Mumias as well. The report was just released last month, and this was last year. So there's a sort of a glacial also slowness that is coming from the
Independent Police Oversight Authority is underfunded, poorly resourced, with very weak personnel. The person who is in Kisumu representing Independent Police Oversight Authority has no structural arrangement to do any investigation. One individual. What can he do?
Thank you. Let's hear from Farah.
You see,
before we take a short break.
The IPOA, the Independent Police Oversight Authority, headed by one, I think, Macharia. Is Macharia?
Yes, Macharia Njeru.
Macharia Njeru. I can authoritatively tell you it is one organization that is headed by a Kenyan patriot who does everything according to the books. He is not partisan in any way. And he bleeds. I know him very well. But exactly as Professor puts it, the moment the system realizes this man is going to give fairness and justice to this, they underfunded him. Yeah. He's being sabotaged by the system left, right, and center. And the poor guy is unable to operate at all. And I'm sure all that they're waiting for is, I think, for the time to come to an end. When is the time coming to an end?
I don't know.
Yeah. But he's one person who is a man of integrity, you know, completely above board and impeccable integrity. Mm-hmm. And I wish he just had the right resources to be able to do this. He would have done it in the four corners of the country. But you know, when you don't get the right manpower, you don't get the right resources, you can't be everywhere at the same time. Mm-hmm. You clearly are not going to perform. Mm-hmm. That's one authority that which was going to, and this was exactly what we had in mind for this to become oversight on police brutality, on the executives, what you call excesses in terms of the manner in which we deal with the management or other transaction of law and order in the country. Because these excesses have been there with us for a very long time, since the colonial times. So I pity him, and I think our friend Chuodo Shem has been a little bit insensitive. You know, when you talk about the death of people, really? And we're talking about massacres, and then you take them in such a lackluster manner. Indeed, yes, there are going to be some Somalis who are going to be caught in there, they are Giriamas, but how many? It's going to be probably less than 1%, or maybe 1 or 2%, you know what I mean? By and large, the number of people who are going to die are going to be from the community that has the majority. In any case, any one Kenyan's life is one life too many for us to lose in circumstances like this. And I think I don't think somebody up there who is a president or a deputy president will tell the officers down there, go and do these things. It must be some excesses that have been exercised by people down there. So we need to have a machinery in place that makes sure that this kind of impunity itself is we say never again. We had it in 2008, 2007. We're still looking at it in the face. And I think there has to be a resolution in the country that whatever happens, whatever contest there's going to be in terms of the electoral process itself, the systems that are going to work, the riggings are the non-riggings. But one thing is we should never be able to descend to a situation in which either the security machinery or other Kenyans take the lives of other Kenyans so easily and so cheaply.
All right.
Why would you use live bullets to disperse crowds? Why don't you use rubber bullets? Why don't you use water? We have recovered in our possession 36 spent cartridges and some live bullets, KDF marked. Why should the army be there with KDF guns and bullets shooting at people because they're demonstrating? What kind of country do we live in? If that was not genocide, what is genocide?
All right, thank you. And I think also we cannot really agree maybe on this podium as far as the terminologies that we use, either if it's ethnic cleansing or
Well,
genocide or massacre.
Right.
Just a moment, yeah. But the issue, of course, that really comes to the fore and is very sensitive is the fact that there is a sanctity of life. And one life, as Farama Amalim is saying, one life lost is one too many. So, of course, we have also to respect that as well. And regardless of your disagreement with the semantics. We take a short break right now. When we come back, we continue with this conversation on the other side of a break. Remember, today also is a big day at the Supreme Court, where we shall be having a ruling on the Nasser and or President Uhuru Kenyatta versus Raila Odinga. This is on the contentious presidential declaration.